With everything that's gone on in real estate, when is the best time to buy or sell a house? It's the Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples. I am the owner-broker of Zone Realty LLC. You zone your home. And I'm filming again from my office in Plainville, Connecticut. I wanted to talk a little bit about selling your house or buying a house and when is the right time. Statistically, the spring-summer period of time is the best time to make your move, for a number of different reasons. First of all, the springtime kicks off the selling market. Now, what that means is realtors are out there looking for listings to put houses up for sale. Buyers are more abundant at this time because the old adage is it's nicer to move in the warmer weather than it is the cold. So inventories of homes that are for sale begin to increase. That means there's more houses out there for you to take a look at. We also see the phenomenon of sellers wanting to get their houses on the market at this time because they can do a few little extra things that you can't do during the colder weather. One of those things is what we call curb appeal. You know, if the landscaping of the home is nice and everything is greened up and all the flowers are in and the house is nice and clean and presentable, it's more attractive to a wider group of buyers. There's another thing that happens during the spring, summertime that's quite interesting, and that is the timing. Timing is very important when it comes to buying a house. Now, of course, you're going to start looking on the internet, you're going to talk to realtors, you're going to look wherever your different sources are for homes that are for sale because more are coming on the market. And idealistically, if you're looking to buy a house, you want to close during a time when the weather is nice. It just makes it that much more convenient in order to make that move. It's also a time when there's a lot of competition out there. Now, there's competition on the seller side and there's competition on the buyer side. And this phenomenon happens because of the number of houses that come on the market. In other words, when you have a large inventory and a large number of houses for people to choose from, you're going to get a lot of activity. Realtors during the summertime like to do their open houses. It's wonderful on a nice warm weekend to open up the house and allow visitors to come in and take a look at what's for sale. It's also a more convenient time because drivers or buyers are out driving around looking at houses that are up for sale. You know that street sign that the realtors put up in front of the houses? That's not only advertising them and their company, but it's also advertising that that house is up for sale. So people who are driving around and enjoying the nice weather will see those signs and they'll drive into the neighborhoods and they'll check out the area and those things that you probably wouldn't do during bad weather. I put together a small presentation that talks about the spring-summer selling season. Let's take a look. As more homes come on the market for sale, there's more choices for a buyer to look at. It also, as I mentioned earlier, becomes much more of a competition for the seller to get their house sold. When a lot of houses come on the market, the seller has to figure out a way to make their home stand out. It has to be something that's going to attract more buyers than, say, the other house down the street might. So features are going to start to come to light. Benefits of living in that particular house, the realtor's spin, you might say, come to light. Ways of making the home more attractive. In other words, making sure the lawn is mowed and the bushes are trimmed and the trees are in good shape and so on and so forth. Because remember what I said earlier? You want those buyers that are driving by to look at the house and maybe want to go take a look inside, those kinds of things. Because the competition is out there with a lot of houses that are on the market, sellers need to pay attention to all the little details. I've talked about on the real estate show before those little details, things that are first impressions that a buyer will see when they approach the house. Things like your garage door, things like the cars in the driveway, things like the garbage cans, those are all distractions. So you want to take a look at those things and make sure that the home has a nice curb appeal, a nice presence when people are driving by. The garbage cans are one of my big things because a lot of people roll their garbage cans in front of the garage so they're easy to put out when it comes time to put your garbage and recycling out, but they are very unattractive. So I always recommend to a seller that you make sure the garbage cans are put aside, that they're put around the side of the garage or even towards the backyard where they're not seen from the street. You also have to be very careful when you're a seller of what you might do as far as your plantings are concerned. Make sure that when you do plantings, your flowers, your bushes, your trees, and so on and so forth, are well kept. Keep them trimmed. Make sure there's no dead branches hanging around. Make sure that if you have a tree in the front yard, there are no branches that are hanging low or someone's going to have to duck in order to walk up that front sidewalk. Make sure the front sidewalk is easy to walk up, that it's clear of any kind of debris. The front entrance to the house must be welcoming. Some of us like to put our planters out because it's the warm weather now and we can start to grow our flowers. Make sure that those planters are put aside where people can get by them to get to that front door. And make sure that your front door is presentable. That's the first thing the buyer is going to see when they come in your driveway and they walk up to the front of the house. They're going to see the front door. So make sure that front door is in good condition. If it needs to be repainted, paint it. When they walk into your house, make sure the first things they see are pleasing. Don't have a lot of clutter. Sometimes a lot of us, around the front doors, we have a place to hang our jackets and our sweaters, and I'll talk about that later. Places to, put the keys or different things as we're going into the house. You want to make sure all that's clear. You want the person to be able to come in the front door of the house and want to walk through the rest of the house. You want to pique their curiosity. So sometimes listening to your realtor, doing a little staging will go a long way to entice that buyer to want to look more at the house. The spring and the summertime is great timing because, again, buyers have a lot of homes to look at and sellers have a lot of buyers coming to look at their homes. It's a time when you're going to see buyers competing for homes. It's the time when sellers may get more dollars for their homes because the buyers are competing for the homes. The spring-summer season, the kickoff to the real estate market, as you were, is a great time to look at putting your home on the market or looking to buy a home. Now, what happens more in the summertime, or what are some more ideas in the summertime? Let's take a look at this little presentation and I'll be back to talk a little more about that. Summertime is a great period of the year. The days get longer. It's warm outside. It's pleasant outside. There are nice breezes blowing sometimes. On the negative, sometimes during the summer, it gets really hot. So as a seller, you need to pay attention to what's going on outside. If it's a really hot day, you want to make sure that your home is comfortable. I've walked into some homes where the air conditioning during a hot day is really blasting high, and the house is very cold. People come into the house from the warm weather and all of a sudden they're very uncomfortable because it's chilly in the house. So you want to make sure that you set your air conditioning so it's comfortable in the house. You also want to bring in a lot of light. You know, it's nice and it's warm and it's sunny and it's bright outside. Let's bring that brightness into the house by making sure your windows are clear, the curtains are open, the blinds are up. There's another little thing in the summertime that sellers don't think of, and that's to turn their lights on. Turning the lights on is going to highlight any dark corners in the house. You know, summertime, depending on how the sun is coming in the house, sometimes shadows are cast. You might have one corner that's a little darker than some of the other corners. So turning the lights on kind of helps even things out. I know it sounds kind of silly to have all your lights on in the daytime, but it's a technique that realtors consider very valuable in being able to lighten up the house and highlight the house. Summertime, because as I said, the days are longer, you're going to have more buyers coming out to look. You know, as a buyer, sometimes your time is very limited. You know, you need to run around on the weekend to look at houses. But if the days are brighter and lighter, longer, you're going to get some of those evening appointments that you may not get during the later part of the year. So the summertime becomes an opportunity for the sellers as well as an opportunity for the buyers. Now let's take a look at this presentation, and I want to talk about the end of the year. I've been talking about the spring into summer and the summertime times of the year when you're looking to buy or sell a house. Spring, summer is an opportunity to look at a lot of houses in a short period of time because that's the time when realtors are really concentrating on building up the inventory. It's also the time when sellers are looking to put their homes on the market because they want to sell relatively quickly and get the best dollars they can in selling their home. And because there's a lot of buyers out, there's more competition, so the seller's going to get more dollars for the home. Summertime also presents, as I said, those longer days, so you have an opportunity to go look at houses as a buyer more in the evening after work than just on the weekends. You can look at more houses over a period of time. Weekends, if the weather is nice, is also a great time to go out and look at houses and a great time for sellers to showcase their homes. It's when we start to see the open houses start to happen. You know, those times where the realtor will present a home during a couple of hours on a Sunday or a Saturday, where you can go in and tour the home. It's an opportunity to showcase those properties that are for sale. But what happens as the year starts to go on and we start to get into the fall and the winter season? Well, as summer ends, we start to think of the fall weather. The season will change. It gets a little cooler, but it's still nice outside. Leaves start to change color, and that can be beneficial for a seller that has some trees in their yard because the fall colors will tend to highlight the landscaping. So it might be appealing to a buyer. It's very pretty to look at, especially if they like that kind of thing. It also gives the opportunity for you to start to demonstrate how comfortable the house feels. And you also want to start to think about the end of the year holidays. You know, fall signifies not only the kids going back to school, it signifies the change of the season where the days are going to start to get a little shorter, unlike they were in the summertime when they were a little longer. So you have to make some adjustments. You're going to be thinking of the holidays. You know, we have all those holidays that happen during those last few months of the year. So now you can start looking at ways to enhance or decorate or stage the house that might be appealing to buyers for the holidays. Now, as we start to get into the winter time, we see that phenomenon of the cold weather starting to come. Now, traditionally, during the winter time, we start to see the houses that are for sale have already been sold. And those few houses that are on the market during the winter that came on during the spring and the summer, well, those are the houses that were, overpriced, you might say. They were houses that maybe had more of a challenge to them based on what they were offering. Now those houses have gotten themselves into a position where the sellers might be willing to do a little bit more negotiation to get the house sold, especially if the house has been on the market for a long time. Now, buyers out there in the winter time are thinking of cold weather. They're starting to think of different things when it comes to a house. How is the house heated? How much is this house going to cost me to keep warm? It also gives them the opportunity as a buyer to tour a house and see if it's drafty. Are there any drafts coming in? It's going to give them the opportunity to get the feel of the house during the cold weather. As a seller, just like in summer with air conditioning, in the winter time, you want to make sure your house is warm and cozy. Not too warm. You know, you can't have that heat blasting where the house is really, really warm because you don't want people to come in and be uncomfortable. You don't want them to be cold, but you don't want them to be too hot either. The idea is to incentivize people to want to be in that home, to want to look around that home, to want to tour the different rooms, the different features, to be able to go through the house with their realtor and really see it and enjoy it. So you want to make it comfortable. Fall, winter also gives us some challenges, again, as a seller, in preparing the house for sale. You know, one of the things I always talk about is landscaping. You know, in the fall, you have all the leaves coming down off the trees. You have things starting to go into their hibernation period. You want to make sure that it's a clear path to that front door. It's a clear path up that driveway. It's a clear path. You don't have anything in the way. If you do any decorations, you want to make sure you put those decorations in such a way where people can get by them easily. Don't go decorating the front door with all kinds of, seasonal type stuff where it makes it difficult. One of the challenges that realtors have, whether it's the spring, the summer, the fall, or the winter, is getting access and getting into a house. I always like to tell the story about the lockbox. Now, the lockbox is a tool that realtors use to put a key the key to enter the house, into in a secured lockbox. The code to that lockbox is only made available to other fellow realtors who have a ready, willing, and able buyer in that price range to look at that home. It's the way the realtor can get into the house to show it. It has to be in a position that the realtor can get at. In other words, if you have a lockbox that's been put on the doorknob of the front door and there's a wreath or some kind of decoration on the front door, it might impede the realtor being able to get access to that lockbox. Same thing when they hang it on a railing or something like that. So keep that in mind. Sellers, you can ask your realtor what the code is for the box, because I know some sellers are a little nervous about a lockbox being on their home. When they're in the house, they like to take the key out and keep it in the house, but please remember to put it back in when you go away for the day so realtors can get in and show the house. So it's just a little detail. Wintertime brings up more details, and that's shoveling the driveway, cleaning the walks clear, making sure the ice is melted. There's a lot to do. Consult your realtor. They have the knowledge on how you can adapt when you're a buyer or a seller, depending on the season, when a house comes up for sale or when you're ready to buy. My name is Rick Naples, and this has been The Real Estate Show. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.
The water's warm at Jaws Pond, and we're stocked full of treasures. Big or small, we buy it all. We buy and sell fast rides, power tools, vintage guitars, and so much more. Walk the plank in style with our fine jewelry, diamonds, and watches. Plus, we have a huge selection of the latest video games, including the new PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Jaws Pond, conveniently located on Meriden Waterbury Turnpike in Southington and West Main Street in New Britain.